Elon Musk just reposted a short clip from NVIDIA's CEO discussing the potential size of the global humanoid robot market opportunity.
I would say the first use case will probably be in manufacturing. There's estimates tens, if not 100 million jobs that are workers the world is short of workers. And aging population, declining birth rates. And so I think the world needs a lot more workers. Robotics is one of the best ways for us to supplement all of that and help companies recover the lost revenues on the one hand and drive productivity, which reduces inflation for the world on the other hand. And so I think robotics is going to be very important to that. In different areas, you could have, they'll probably deploy into manufacturing first because they obviously need it most.
Which is a ginormous potential market, addressable market.
It's a $50 trillion industry that wants to grow. And
$50 trillion and growing is a gigantic opportunity, which is why you should probably completely ignore this because after all, $50+ trillion growing opportunities show up every other week. Not like this is a once in a generation, possibly century opportunity. You certainly won't regret missing out. Plus, it's not already obvious that there's any companies out there that might have a meaningful lead when it comes to massively scaling humanoid robots. So even if this were a once in a generation or once in a century opportunity, it'd be very difficult to discover any companies out there today that have a meaningful lead and going to take a meaningful slice of this 50 trillion and growing opportunity. And now in absolutely unrelated matters, Google CEO discussing Elon Musk's ability to, well, I'll just let him speak for himself.
I spent time with Elon maybe 2 weeks ago when I talked to him, and his ability to will future technologies into existence, I think it's just unparalleled. So look, these are phenomenal people. I respect all of them.
So dude leading Google saying, quite clearly too, that Elon Musk's ability to will technologies into existence is unparalleled. I hope you enjoyed this very short and completely unrelated clip that has nothing at all to do with humanoid robots. Meanwhile, for those who don't know, Google owns Waymo, and here's a very short clip of a highly capable Waymo robot flawlessly navigating a pothole in San Francisco. The crew trying to warn drivers to avoid the absolute disaster in front of their vehicle. Apparently, this Waymo, I don't know, needs more LIDAR. And this is kind of awkward to see. Ouch. I guess they obviously just need to add a few more sensors and they'll be able to deal with situations like that, right? And I saw this great chart from AJ, which was reposted by Elon Musk recently. We're looking at free cash flow history of pure electric vehicle manufacturers. This is cumulative cash flow since inception, e.g. when the company started. Tesla, just over $16 billion positive free cash flow cumulatively since inception. Of course, it took time to get there. Initially, Tesla did have cumulative losses in the many billions of dollars before printing absurd amounts of money. Amazingly, Tesla didn't have to compete with Tesla. Every other company on this chart, unfortunately for them, does need to compete with Tesla. Now, just to be clear, Ford here included on this chart, they actually separately report their electric vehicle business. So their numbers are based on that. Doesn't include their ICE business at all. Two of the companies on here, Canoe and Anal Fisker, have both gone bankrupt. Rest in peace. But as I've said trillions of times, Tesla doesn't exist in a vacuum. So let's try and analyze what's going on here a little bit. Rivian, who many times people have claimed was the next Tesla, cumulative losses approximately double that of Tesla's lifetime worst cumulative loss total. In other words, Rivian's lost twice as much money cumulatively as Tesla ever. And look at the rate of loss. This is brutal stuff. Of course, the bulls will say, well, yeah, of course, but Rivian's going to turn it around and dig themselves out of this hole. That's certainly possible, although they are competing with Tesla, already at massive scale and profitably producing compelling electric vehicles, including the world's best-selling vehicles, so yikes. But this is an incredible insight into the resourcefulness, the efficiency, how lean Tesla is as a company. Rivian's cumulative losses already roughly double that of Tesla at its worst. Lucid have already cumulatively lost more money than Tesla ever did. We can just run down the list, company after company. Fisker, RIP, Canoe, RIP, Faraday, still alive for now. Lotus, Xpeng, Polestar, VinFast, NIO, Lucid, Ford's EV business, and Rivian all losing insane amounts of money. And unlike Tesla, who didn't have to compete with themselves, these companies do have to sell vehicles in the same marketplace, called Earth, that Tesla's already selling incredible, compelling, exceptionally competitive vehicles. One thing that is a little troubling, every one of these companies, other than Tesla, was a little bit later to the party, meaning the time they began producing electric vehicles, the actual cost for the most expensive things in the vehicles, the batteries, had significantly fallen from the point where Tesla first began. So you would have thought that they'd have a little bit more of a cost advantage, right? And Tesla was really pushing shit uphill in the early days. But the amount of innovation that's happened, the decline in cost for the batteries, computers in the vehicles, and even some of their manufacturing innovations, you would have thought many of these companies could have torn down Tesla vehicles and learned from them, copied many of their manufacturing processes, and lost less cumulatively before they started printing billions of dollars, right? Yet that's not what we've seen play out. Maybe that guy, what was his name? Elon something or other, who said prototypes are easy, production is hard, and profitable production at scale is excruciating. Maybe he was onto something. Of course, this isn't an insight into how things are going to play out with humanoid robots at scale. I'm definitely not implying that Tesla is going to do something comparable with a humanoid robot business, achieve scale, profitability, and start printing billions and billions and billions of dollars on the hardware, while most of the other so-called competition sustains ever-mounting losses and then most of them eventually go bankrupt. I'm definitely not saying that. But here's a question. Will Rivian, Ford's EV business, Lucid, Neo, VinFast, Polestar, XPeng, will any of these companies ever actually reach any positive cumulative cash flow? Will they make it that far? One final thing to add. Tesla's been investing aggressively in many projects, including real-world AI, covering their vehicles in sensors from the get, collecting data at great expense, hurting their cumulative cash flow, while many of the so-called competing companies have not. Food for thought. While we're on the subject of other companies versus Tesla, the CEO of DMF, also known as BMW, explains how the company was right. Let me explain. DMF CEO declared victory over rivals in the electric vehicle market strategy, claiming his company's cautious approach, aka being gigantic fucking retarded pussies who couldn't see the writing on the wall, has been validated as competitors scale back ambitious EV targets. Quote, "We took a clear stand on this, even in the face of strong headwinds. Now the wind has shifted in our direction." While competitors like Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen and Volvo made aggressive commitments to all electric lineups 5 years ago, BMW maintained its strategy of offering multiple drivetrain options, including combustion engines, hybrids and electric vehicles. Wait for it. Quote, "E-mobility as the sole technology leads to a dead end. That should be obvious by now." By the way, just to be clear, it's May 2025. I'm reading you these quotes from the CEO of BMW from May 2025, jerking himself off, claiming that electric vehicles as a sole propulsion, dead end. God, I can't wait to revisit this 5 years from now. Now, does this look like a dead end to you guys? Over $16 billion of cumulative lifetime cash flow? Does the world's best-selling vehicle, being electric, look like a dead end? What BMW's fuck-knuckle CEO is currently doing is called coping. It is true that many of Tesla's so-called competitors threw out ridiculous, audacious electric vehicle targets. It's arguable whether or not they were serious or they were attempting to appease investors or pump the stock, who knows? And then, in an example of nothing but sheer short-sightedness or severe brain damage, or maybe both, started backing down from some of those targets, slowing things down. I've made a lot of accurate predictions. It's pretty much what I do. But the one thing I really fucked up on over the last 5-6 years, I was adamant that companies like Volkswagen, you name it, legacy automotive, I thought they would all be accelerating and then announcing an even greater acceleration of their plans to electrification. I thought they would at least see the writing on the wall, go all in on EVs, or you're bankrupt even sooner. And I thought they would continually revise and become even more aggressive with their EV targets. And instead, these absolute retards have done the opposite. They've given up on electric vehicles, essentially. I underestimated the stupidity of these companies. BMW's CEO now is using this as evidence that moving aggressively towards electric vehicles is a bad idea and BMW is right for doing jack fucking shit. Just because a bunch of your so-called competitors, legacy auto companies, are all retarded, doesn't mean that proves that your retarded decision was actually a good one. What's happening right now is legacy auto companies are finding out, as we can see on screen now, that scaling up compelling, profitable electric vehicles is actually really fucking hard, especially when you're doing so after Tesla's already reached massive scale and has the world's best-selling vehicle. So legacy auto companies are giving up one after another. Fuck it. We're going bankrupt anyway. We may as well just milk some short-term profits from our ICE vehicles and try and trick our dumb consumers via lots of advertising, aka manipulation, into buying hybrids, which are also ICE vehicles, but we'll trick them into thinking they're good for the environment or they make sense. They don't, but we can milk some short-term profits over the next couple of years. Then we can all get a golden parachute. Someone else can take over the company and steer us toward inevitable bankruptcy. The arrogance of a CEO of a legacy auto company to claim victory in the face of this data. Remind me again, what was the world's best-selling vehicle 2 years running? What kind of propulsion? Electric. Who made it? Tesla. Someone please set a reminder. Check back in 10 years, 5 years. Let's see what happened to BMW, their vehicle sales, their profits, demand for their ICE products, their profitability in their ICE business. Are they even solvent? This is the height of arrogance from BMW's CEO. It also shows the total lack of courage and leadership. The pussification of these so-called leaders. Oh, Let's go back to the article. BMW launching its iX3 mid-sized electric crossover by year-end, building on its new dedicated EV platform. The company further plans to introduce hydrogen fuel cell powered vehicles in 2028, maintaining its multi-technology approach in an increasingly uncertain automotive landscape. There is no uncertainty in the automotive landscape. Use your brain. EV costs are coming down predictably over time. They're already at price parity. They're going to keep getting lower than ICE vehicle purchase price. They're already way cheaper to own and maintain. It's going to keep widening. The gap between the financial case for an ICE vehicle versus an EV will keep widening. The writing's on the wall. This unwillingness to commit to electric vehicles, to pursue many independent forms of propulsion, ICE vehicles, fake electric vehicles, which are ICE vehicles with a little battery in them called hybrids, electric vehicles and hydrogen. I mean, this is the same approach as Toyota, the morons. This is weak and pathetic. This lack of vision, of focus, this sheer uncertainty is disgusting to see in a leader of a company. It's only going to end one way. The fact that this retard is gloating about being a gigantic fucking pussy, brother. Someone remind me, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, let's go back and dig into this and see what happened to BMW. The most painful and embarrassing thing here is that it was 2012 when Tesla dropped the hammer with their Model S, wins every award ever, best vehicle ever, bar none, proving the case for compelling electric vehicles, performance, features, functionality, you name it. And it was already obvious at that point, the cost for the batteries in these things was predictably declining over time. 13 years ago, it was obvious you could produce an incredibly compelling electric vehicle and that the cost for these things would predictably decline over time, eventually reaching price parity with ICE vehicles and then continuing well beyond that. 13 years later, there are still alleged leaders, gigantic sausage wallets with the title of CEO at legacy automotive companies who haven't figured this out. 13 years later, they still haven't figured out they should be all in on EVs, although it's too late, so rest in peace. Anyway, I've been saying that Tesla has won the decade since 2019, referring to electric vehicles and the 2020s. Yet these companies still haven't even figured that out. But electric vehicles are last decade's news. Tesla's won that, I said. Gone. Done. Forget it. Close your eyes, wake up in a decade. Watch what happened. Autonomy and humanoid robots. Those are the next few decades of absolute domination. We're going to see the same thing play out. So many parallels between how slow the automotive industry was to see the writing on the wall with electric vehicles. Same shit's going to happen with autonomy. Tesla's going to run away with this one. Same thing with humanoid robots. And everyone's going, oh shit. Watch as the narrative starts to shift in the coming years. The pussies leading companies like Volkswagen, pick your legacy automotive manufacturer, as Tesla starts scaling up, rapidly scaling up their autonomous fleet of vehicles, including custom-owned, plus then their cybercab. These gigaderps, who still today in May 2025 deny the inevitability of electric vehicles, are vastly superior and much more affordable, and remember it's getting more affordable over time, form of propulsion versus ICE vehicles. They deny the inevitability, the complete disruption of the internal combustion engine. They're going to be coping so hard about the massive shift in transportation itself, from self-driven, human-driven, to autonomous. Never mind the enormous disruption of the global labour market, which people just can't seem to digest. Jensen Huang, NVIDIA CEO, start of the video, talks about a $50 trillion opportunity and growing, first in manufacturing. Bro's right. But if it's taken legacy automotive companies more than 13 years to still not have figured out EVs are the future, how long do you think it's going to take a bunch of supposedly intelligent people and leaders of companies, leaders of industry, analysts, experts, pundits, commentators, to see the enormous disruption that both autonomy represents? Biggest cost, by the way, is a human driver. You remove that big cost and holy shit, bro. And humanoid robots. I mean, bro, it's 2020. It's May 2025. I can't believe this is a real quote from a real CEO of a real automotive manufacturer who's still today, dude, he's gloating about not having aggressively pursued electric vehicles and saying that they're a dead end. It's May 2025. My God. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.